My dad would not let me go to therapy because he didn't want any crazy people in his family, quote unquote crazy. He agreed to let me go to therapy, but we could only use cash because he didn't want insurance or any paper trail leading back to the family that there was somebody in the family that was crazy. The mental health issue started a little earlier and then really got bad once I realized I was gay.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. Hey, I got a great episode for you this week. This week I'm speaking with Torri. He is a trans male CEO and founder of Tangible Movement, speaker, mental health advocate, and just an all-around cool dude. Torri is going to share his story about his journey through transitioning and through addiction and suicidal thoughts and attempts and his journey into advocating. We'll get right to his story in a minute. But first, I want to tell people about Cornwall Alternative School. I've mentored there for the last few weeks. It's an amazing, incredible school that is supporting kids from grade 7 to grade 10 that are slipping through the cracks, who aren't finding the supports they need in a regular school. It is just so incredible. Their website is cornwallalternativeschool.com. I beg you to go there and send financial donations or donations in kind, whether it be food or sporting equipment or whatever. This school is ran by incredible people supporting incredible children. I also want to tell you that you can be watching this episode on YouTube. Bunny Hugs and Mental Health channel is there. If you want to buy some Bunny Hugs and Mental Health merch, that link is in the show notes. If you want to buy me a coffee, if you think, hey, Todd's doing a pretty good job here and I want to support him some way, there's also a link there in the show notes. And I'm always doing speaking gigs and presenting things to people, whether it's organizations or schools or companies, whatever. If you're interested in having me do some speaking for you, whether in person or virtually, please reach out to me at bunnyhugspodcast@gmail.com. And quickly, I also really want to thank Ellie and T from the podcast Trauma Bonded. They are always very kind to me and give me shout outs, and I was a guest on their podcast. And to Whit Missildine and everybody at This Is Actually Happening podcast for the shout outs there. Thank you so much, everybody. But back to the episode. So without further ado, I give you Torri. I think your pronouns have changed from like a year ago.
They're he. They were. It was like they, he. Now it's just he, him.
I see. Okay. And did you prefer she, her at one point or never?
Yeah. No. 2 years ago, I transitioned. So I.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was she, her. I moved to Reno from Santa Monica for a job, and I had started taking testosterone in 2019, but I was microdosing. I wasn't planning on fully transitioning. And then when I moved here, I decided that I wanted to fully transition. So I moved to Reno as a she, her lesbian. And then I went from she, her to they, she, to they, them, to they, he, to he, his, within a 2-year period.
Well, whatever works.
Yeah. I don't like, I'm older. So the whole they, them thing, I was really hesitant to use those pronouns, because I just my brain had a hard time like conceptualizing it, but I didn't have any other choice. I mean, I was transitioning, so I couldn't, I had to use those pronouns. So. Oh,
so it was because of the transition you use them? You didn't just, like some people, do they just jump straight to?
I felt like I didn't look like a he, him, right? So at that point, so I was like, well, I can't say I'm a he, him. Like, I'm not going to be like looking like a female and saying, call me a he. It just, I know a lot of people do that, and that's fine. That's just not, right. I did not feel comfortable with that.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's no rules.
No. It's full spectrum. I mean, there's people who look, they appear, female, but their pronouns are like they, he, and, so it's always best just to ask, like, what are your preferred pronouns these days? 'Cause you just never know.
Right, yeah. And I have to say, you're a handsome fella.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So, yeah, and I'm assuming you were an attractive female.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a look. They're on my Instagram. If you scroll down, you'll see photos. I mean, I
That,
didn't do too bad. I had some nice looking girlfriends, so I know I'm not ugly. I'll just put it that way.
okay. So really, you're just an attractive person.
I mean, I think it's personality, but I
Right.
know I'm not too hard on the eyes. I'm not like a 10 by any means, but I'm also, I know that I'm not ugly. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And by the way, Reno has a great Burger King. I ate there one time.
That's probably the best burger you'll ever find or meal you'll find in Reno because the food sucks here. It's awful.
Yeah, we were just driving through. I was like, this'll do.
Yeah.
I was like, now I could say I was in Reno.
I live on the outskirts of Reno, so I don't live anywhere near the casinos. I didn't even know that Tahoe was like a 45-minute drive. Yeah, and like my view right now is just of the Sierra Mountains, snow capped. You would never know. Like you literally drive like 5 minutes outside that little casino area, and it's all mountains and the Sierras, and it's beautiful. So I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought I was moving to a little shithole town in the middle of the desert with just casinos. I had no clue. I didn't even know it snowed here, and I bought a 2-wheel drive car like 2 weeks before moving here. So yeah, that's how much I knew about Reno when I moved here.
Huh. So I guess you reached out to me, and what was it? I guess about your story that you thought would be a good fit for the podcast.
So
was it the transitioning, or was it other things beyond as well?
Your podcast is based on mental health.
Yes,
and yeah. I'm a huge mental health advocate. I do a lot of work for NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Oh, okay.
I sit on their board of directors here in Nevada, on Northern Nevada. I do a lot of work with the Suicide Prevention Resource Center, and I'm part of their LEAC, which is the Lived Experience Advisory Committee. Oh yeah, yep.
I'm a survivor.
Yep, I see that there. Yeah, I'm a 2-time suicide attempt survivor. So I have a mental. I live with a mental illness, which is bipolar type 2. Recovering drug addict, alcoholic. Let's see. I'm all
same.
Yep. And then what else do I do? There's more. Oh, I sit on the board here in Reno for an organization called Our Center, which is Northern Nevada's LGBTQIA community center. And I just started a mental health / suicide prevention committee off of that board position. So I have a nonprofit called Tangible Movement, which I started in 2016, which is for mental health, LGBTQIA, awareness, and we teach resiliency courses in schools and for corporations on mental resilience and also just lived experience.
That's a terrible explanation.
Yeah.
Why?
So I saw your thing. I was like, oh. I said, okay, why not? I reach out, and so I just I help people like through my stories. For I only have one story. It's mine. Right. I do a lot of public speaking, and my whole goal in life really is I'm super immersed in the mental health space, and I'm obviously a trans advocate, LGBTQA advocate. Mental health first is for me. Secondary would be LGBTQA. Just in the fact, like, if you don't have good mental health, then but if I'm having a bad mental health day, like, there's nothing matters. So
that's right. Yeah. So tell me about your mental health journey and how it started and how it turned around, I guess.
So yeah, I was raised in Orange County, California. And to begin with, yes.
Another beautiful place.
Yeah, really beautiful. Very white, very conservative. And and I was raised in a very bigoted, homophobic household. So I grew up as a racist and a homophobe. I really referred to people's races as the most derogatory term you could possibly imagine. Because that's what my dad was, a total bigot. And he was an attorney. So he's just kind of like, he can say whatever he wanted, he thought. And as a homophobe, I thought all, gay people should just be wiped off the planet. And this was, before I turned 14, because that's when I realized I was gay. And what started changing my whole perception on the bigotry was in junior high school or junior high school. I said something I shouldn't have said to Lakeisha, a girl named Lakeisha, a black girl, and she beat the shit out of me in front of my mom at the bus station and everybody watching. And I ran over to my mom and I'm like, why didn't you help me? I had blood in my face. And she's like, probably, because you said something you probably deserved to be beat by. Because my mom was not a bigot at all. She hated the bigotry. And anyway, around 14, I started having these feelings for girls where I kind of realized I was like, there's something
Me too.
going on. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So I've been a straight man inside my body the whole life, so.
Me too.
Yep. My dad would not let me go to therapy because he didn't want any crazy people in his family, quote unquote crazy. So my mom finally came.
Therapy for being attracted to girls?
Yeah. Right. And for severe depressive disorder.
I see.
So it kind of all happened at the same time. Like the depression was coming in as the mental health issue started a little earlier, and then really got bad once I realized I was gay or having feelings for girls. So he agreed to let me go to therapy, but we could only use cash because he didn't want insurance or any paper trail leading back to the family that there was somebody in the family that was crazy. So my first suicide attempt was at age 14. And that was because, I had a vision of my life before then with like, okay, I'm going to get married. I'm going to become an attorney. I'm going to have 2 golden retrievers, a house with a white picket fence. And I was so super depressed and my dad was so not supportive. I didn't see a path to life and I wasn't medicated at that time. And I just, I was a cutter. I was self-harming already. And
do you mind me asking roughly what year this would be? Just so I can maybe
1992.
Okay.
I'm 45.
I'm 46.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So yeah, almost exactly the same time we started liking girls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In history, not just of age.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway.
And then, and then as I progressed through college, first of all, I got kicked out of high school. I had really bad rage issues. I went to Santa Margarita Catholic High School. I'm Jewish, but I got into a lot of trouble because I was a troublemaker. Like I was tagging, thinking I was a gangster and all that. And anyway, I got kicked out of college or high school because I punched the dean in the face. Mind you, I was trying to punch somebody else and he grabbed me and I punched him in the face. And so I got kicked out of school, went to a different high school. Anyway, my depression just...
And you were very kind of feminine, just what's it called?
Yeah, I presented as a female.
Presented, yeah.
I was like a tomboy, but I had long, beautiful, blondish hair. I looked kind of like a Barbie, really, of some sort. And so that's what actually kept me out of jail, was my white privilege. I used to run around.
You're a young, pretty white girl. We can't put her in jail.
Yep. I was, we were at a park and I was a drug dealer. I started dealing drugs at age 14. And then I started dealing meth shortly thereafter. And I was with these gang members that I was hanging out with and they were Mexican. The police rolled up. We were drinking like old English 800. We had drugs on us and they proceeded to arrest all of us. I put us all in the patrol car. And the guy was putting my head down, getting me in the car, and my hands are handcuffed behind my back, and I hear the handcuff unclick. And he says, "Go home to your daddy, little girl." And he arrested all of the other Mexicans that I was with. Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, she's just a victim of these Mexican dudes."
Yeah, she just got bad. There's just bad influence, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to ruin her life. I'll ruin all their lives, but, and in fact, now I speak to the police departments. And when I was living in California, it's called CIT, Crisis Intervention Training, where law enforcement in certain states now have to go through 40 hours of mental health training. So there's a couple hours in that CIT training where I work with NAMI and I do lived experience perspective for the officer for the police department. So I've given told my story to the Reno Police Department, Sparks Police Department, Garden Grove Police Department. try to educate police, on mental health. Anyway, so I go through life, go through college, managed to make it out of college, graduating top of my class. And I ended up interning in the White House under Bill Clinton.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
You went to the White House?
Yeah, White House intern.
Because of your grades?
Huh?
Sorry. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay there when we're talking over each other, but because of your grades, or how'd you get to the White House?
No, so I couldn't get in my I was a horrible student, and so I went to Santa Barbara City College, and they started a program for study abroad, but not study abroad.
I've spent so much time in Santa Barbara. I know I live in Saskatchewan, but I have a friend that lives there, and we've been there many times, and I know the place and everything.
My grandma's, she's deceased now, but she's from Saskatchewan.
Stop it.
Canadians are awesome.
What? Where did she live in Saskatchewan?
I have no idea. My mom's from Brandon, Manitoba.
Bizarro.
Yeah. And then my
Are we related?
Live in Vancouver.
I've never been to Vancouver.
Really?
But it's beautiful.
It is. I've been. Yeah. So my mom was also mentally ill. And that was a fun time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry. Back to your story.
Yeah.
So, so many connections here.
Yeah. So
you were in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Santa Barbara. Interned in the White House. It was a lot of fun under Clinton. It was this class right after Monica Lewinsky. So we were instructed very clearly, like, not to look him in the eyes and to make no physical contact. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
They didn't tell him that. They had to tell the interns.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
And, I have to tell you, he's extremely charismatic. I could totally see why girls would, go for him. He has these bright blue eyes, extremely intelligent, very charismatic. Did that, graduated top of my class, and I couldn't get a job. September 11th happened, the year I graduated. So I got a job working, LA Fitness, and I eventually started my own company, a mortgage company. That went under in 2008. And then I became a personal trainer. And I got all these celebrity clients, and I started traveling all over the Western world with them, training them with severe depression going on. That was one of the best times of my life. I was able to manage my depression just because I was able to exercise. Exercise for me is like the number one thing that keeps me out of the super deep darkness. So I traveled with artists. I don't know if you know who Miguel is, but his name is Miguel, and then Lionel Richie, and a number of other artists. But and then that period, and then is when it got really dark. I got back from tour, and my last tour was with a client, and I was in New York City. And I attempted suicide again for the second time.
And were you still using drugs and things at this time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Total drug addict. Okay. Pills, Vicodin, benzos, stimulants, all of them at the same time. And I had a really bad eating disorder, binge, and then exercise bulimia, and mental health that I was not medicated for. So I just spiraled, and in that hotel room I attempted and didn't succeed. And my therapist had been trying to get me in treatment for a long time. I was refusing. So I was like, I got woken up by my client's tour manager pounding on the door, like, "We've been trying to reach you. Where are you?" I came to, there's urine all over the bed, like food all over the place. Like, looked like someone just tore the room apart. And I'm like, I just said through the door, I'm like, "Hey, you know what? There's an emergency. Can you book me a flight back to LA?" Went back to LA and then went to treatment for three things. It was eating disorder, depression, mental illness, and drug detox, alcohol and drug detox. So I got out of there and ended up homeless shortly thereafter because I spent all my money on treatment. I knew that was my last chance. I knew that if I didn't get clean and sober, I've been trying to get. I have been in and out of sobriety through AA since I was 15 years old. So for 17 years or so, I was a chronic relapser, and it was after my last stint in treatment, which was in 2010. Still I was feeling like shit for a couple. I couldn't function because I was still not medicated properly. So I had this girlfriend, decided to move out. It was just a disaster. And I lived out of my car for a while. But it was in Santa Monica. So, I would park and have the ocean view, whatnot. And then finally
sober.
I got medicated.
So were you sober living in your car?
Yes. I did whatever I could do in order to stay sober.
So would you say, so some people say, this is a saying in AA anyway, my worst day sober is still better than my best day in addiction.
Okay. So that saying, it sounds great, but I can tell you that my best day in addiction, I'm obliterated. I don't remember anything. And that's a pretty good damn day for me,
Yeah. On tour with Lionel Richie.
Right? Well, I was actually sober during that period of time because I went back on tour.
I see. Okay.
So, yeah, I got sober. I went back on tour after, but I didn't have any tours lined up, obviously. So I was homeless. Had to get a job at Equinox, walking around putting weights away. Like a blue shirt on the floor, making minimum wage. After making all this money, traveling all over the place, it was very humbling. So I parked my car with my dog. I had a dog, Rufus, his name was. I had a.
My grandpa's dog was Rufus.
Really? Yeah.
We have so many connections.
I know. Canadian, dogs, mental illness, addiction.
Like Saskatchewan. Santa Barbara. Oh, this is gross. This
Reno.
is weird.
Burger King in Reno.
Are we related? I seriously want to know.
Yeah, I think we might be. You have blue eyes too? Yep.
Blue eyes.
Oh yeah. See, so we could be.
And I'm gorgeous.
Could be about related. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm attractive.
Yeah, you're not an ugly guy.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Anyway, sorry. Oh my God, I'm so all over the place right now. I swear to God, I took my ADHD meds, but
no, that's okay. I just snort them up my nose.
Well, yeah, there's that option.
Yeah. So yeah. And eventually,
blue shirt, putting weights away.
Yeah, putting weights away, minimum wage. I'd park my car underneath there's an underground parking lot. Had my little dog in there. And I'd shower at the gym. Nobody knew I was homeless. I'd shower upstairs at the gym and then, come downstairs during my breaks and walk my dog out of the car. I couch surfed for a while as well. And then obviously got enough money to get a little bachelor in Santa Barbara, like a 200 square foot place. And from that point forward, that's when I started a nonprofit, because there's so much stigma around mental illness. And this was in 2016 now. I just was like, I also grew out of the racism through exposure to other cultures and when I was in college. So that, obviously is not a part of my story today. And obviously grew out of the homophobia. So yeah, I became an advocate for mental health and suicide prevention in 2016 when I founded Tangible Movement. And I've been, diligently, telling my story or helping other people who are suffering from mental illness and suicide ideations or suicide tendencies, through telling my story of, going from wherever to wherever. And then, I ended up, what did I do after that? Got a job, had to work myself back up again, started working in a different vertical, completely different than personal training, and still doing some training on the side, but managing my depression. So I was medicated. All the doctors when I was growing up kept telling me I was bipolar. And I was like, I didn't relate to it because when I thought of bipolar, I thought of homeless people on the street saying they're Jesus Christ. That's what I thought bipolar looked like. And I'm like, that's not me, And my dad kept saying, no, you're not taking those medications because you're not bipolar. So since I was, 14 all the way up until 35, I was not medicated properly. And so I saw this one doctor. Someone's like, this doctor's really great. People, I'm not pushing medication on anybody by any means, but for me, it works. And what else works for me is exercise, eating healthy, and sleep, proper sleep. But I saw this doctor. I'm like,
I should try all those.
yeah, it really helps. It helps a shit ton. And I gave her this bare little minimum of because I didn't want to hear I was bipolar again. And she says, "You're bipolar." I'm like, oh, I rolled my eyes. She's like, type 2. And I'm like, what? And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, there's 4 different types of bipolar. And I had no idea. No doctors ever told me that before. And what I have is hypomania. So do you know what bipolar type 2 is?
I get them all screwed up. I know the basics of what bipolar is, but I don't know the nuances between 1 and 4.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's 1, which is, it typically, the person with bipolar 1 typically has very manic episodes and depressive episodes and may experience psychosis. Okay. Type 2 is hypomania, which I get small hypomanic episodes. I'm not in psychosis. I'm totally, it might look like impulsive spending or bouts of rage and anger. But then I step into severe depressive episodes for weeks to months following that. And then the third one is cyclothymia, which is rapid cycling. So it might walk into a room, like for my mom was rapid cycling for sure. She'd be like, oh yeah, la, 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 walk out of the room, walk back in the room, and then she'd be super depressed. And it was so rapid cycling. And then type 4 is not otherwise specified. So if they can't put you in those groups, they'll put you in 4. So I was really happy to learn I was type 2 and there was a solution for me. Started taking the medication, and lo and behold, I became the most stable I've ever been in my entire life. And the biggest part, and then, the last couple of years, I got a job, moved to Reno, and got a different, back in the real estate industry. And I went through my transition, throughout I was here, and I had top surgery a year and a half ago. I've had 3 back surgeries in the last couple of years. I have the last one was spinal.
So now you have a man's back.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, I told the doctor, I'm like, you have to make sure, I don't care what you do, but you have to treat me like an athlete. Because if I cannot work out, my mental health tanks. So we got some screws in my spine, and I'm doing just fine.
Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is supported by Co-op. I've been a member of my local co-op, Sherwood Co-op, for about 20 years. If you live in Western Canada, especially the prairies, or spent any time here, you've probably fueled up or bought groceries at a co-op. You might even have a co-op number, or 2, or 3. You know if you know. But co-op is not just a gas bar or a grocery store. Although co-op is those things too, it's a different kind of business. Co-op members are owners, and success is shared with everyone. Your co-op doesn't benefit one person or one corporation. Your co-op was built for everyone. Your co-op was built for your community. Learn more about co-op and find a location near you at co-op.crs. Hey everybody, I want to tell you about a really great business called Sticks and Doodles. It's an incredibly passionate business, crafting wood signs, plaques, ornaments, and other products for all types of occasions. They have an amazing team. The owners are Kyle and Danelle Moffat. They are incredible. Please check them out at sticksanddoodles.com or Sticks and Doodles on Instagram. Are you, what am I trying to say? Are you satisfied with the transitioning then? Or will there be more surgeries?
I might be revision, but, revision meaning on the top surgery, there's some just cosmetic things that I would like to have improved. But gotcha. I got the keyhole surgery. So the way they go into the areola. So I don't have the big scars underneath my chest.
I see. Oh, yeah, okay.
So I have the areola, I had the area, but there's still some cosmetic things that it's a lot of times you have to go in for revisions after that type of surgery, the keyhole surgery, and so eventually I get cosmetic, which entails just having some of the scar tissue removed.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So it's less intrusive, but they have to touch up once in a while because it's less intrusive. Yep. Gotcha. Huh. Well, that's quite the journey.
Yeah.
What's your relationship like with your dad now?
He passed last December.
Okay. I'm sorry.
My mom died of COVID in 2020.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, she went into she had COPD, went into the hospital, during the time it was crazy. They're triaging in the parking lots and stuff. And she went in for COPD, tested negative, and then she was going to be discharged. They tested her again, tested positive, and a couple days later, that was it.
Good Lord.
I managed to get into the hospital somehow, and because this was the time when no one was allowed to go visit the hospital. People were just dying on their own. I got in, and they put like a thing on my head and all this stuff, and so I was there, watching them take the tube out, and I was there for her last, breath and whatnot. I was the only family member that was able to be there for that. So I'm just glad she didn't pass alone. And then my father, we had to put him in like, not hospice, but the one right before hospice. I forget what it's called. Anyways, moved to Seattle from California, Orange County. And we had been paying for their living expenses, me and my sister and brother, for like 10 years. And so last December, my dad was fine. I was supposed to go. We were estranged, and then we had been talking a lot over the last, like, before he passed, 6 months to a year. We started to become like, he started to understand, gay, like why, and the transition to being trans. So I was really excited to go see him since we had kind of reconciled, to the point of, where I thought it was great. Better than anything I could expect, at least. And me and my sisters were estranged at the time, and they lived in Seattle. I was going to go up for Thanksgiving to see my dad, or not Thanksgiving. Was it Thanksgiving? States. What's Thanksgiving? Oh yeah, I was going to go.
It's different in Canada.
For I went on the holidays, Thanksgiving, and or something. Yes, Thanksgiving. And my sister.
There was turkey.
Yeah, my dad said November. My dad said, "Don't come up here. Your sisters don't want to see you." And I said, "Okay, all right, fine. I'll come up for your birthday," which is December 22nd. Anyways, I got a call in the middle of the night, December 7th, saying that they don't know what happened, but he's in the hospital and on a ventilator. He went in because he was constipated, totally fine. And the doctors walked out of the room, walked back in, and he was dead. And he had a DNA or DNR, yeah. But so I flew up, got on a plane, and we all said our goodbyes, and then pulled the plug.
Jesus.
Yeah. Then my dog. I put my dog down in March.
Bro, what the hell?
But I made it through. That's the thing. Is like, it's all about resilience. Like it was really rough. I'm going to tell you, it was super rough. These last 2 years have not been easy by any means. But I'm still the most stable. I was the most stable that I've ever been, and going through all that different trauma and trials and tribulations and surgeries and death and all that stuff. I was able to maintain my mental health because I took care of myself, and I had a positive mental outlook. Right. And my doctor said the same thing. He's like, the only reason why you're recovering so fast is because you have this positive mental outlook. Like, you're not, oh, woe is me. I can't do this. I didn't have anybody here to take care of me. I didn't know anybody in Reno. So I had to manage my back surgeries on my own.
Now I'm thinking of that AA saying again. It's like, your best day using is no, I'm screwing it all up. Your worst day sober is still better than your best day using. And this is kind of what they mean by it, really, right? It's maybe not literally, but like you're able to get through much harder times, much easier. And it's because like, imagine if these last 2 years had happened 10 years ago, like,
I would have been a victim disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have been, like, there's no way I wouldn't be taking care of myself. My doctor said after spinal fusion, he's like, walk as much as you can. So, and I normally run about 100 miles a month. So I'm a runner and I work out. And so I said, you need to fix me so I can work out and run. And he said, okay, just walk as much as you possibly can after surgery. I don't care how much pain you're in. I'm like, great. So 3 days after surgery, I started walking 6 miles a day. And I did 145 miles in 30 days post-op. And that helped my recovery like tenfold. A lot of people think, oh, you got back surgery, you need to lay down and like rest. It's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Right. Huh. Well, maybe I should get back surgery so that I'm tempted to do some running or walking.
Do you have back injuries?
No.
Oh, Well, I mean, you can be motivated by other things than a surgery, right?
I think I need something extreme like that, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's us as addicts and alcoholics, right? We need this extreme pendulum swinging from left to right. There's no gray area ever.
Exactly.
So
it's all or nothing.
Wait, one surgery? No, let's do 3 back surgeries. Let's do 2 top surgeries and 2 back surgeries back to back. Can you handle that? Okay.
And while your parents die, like, what? Okay, I guess. And your dog.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yep.
You've had a busy. Wow, man. And do you mind me asking why the relationship with your sisters were the way that it was?
So I was unemployed living in LA, during COVID.
Oh.
I didn't have any money to contribute anymore to my father's care. Mind you, I had been paying for his care for 10 years. My sisters were helping, but the first 2 years I paid for them on my own. And I could not contribute. If I contributed, I would have been homeless again.
Right.
And they just didn't understand that. And they had 2 very well-paying jobs. And they had to move him up to Seattle to stay with my sister because we couldn't afford to put him in a place that he needed to be put in. So they were extremely resentful. Extremely. And I understand, I guess, and they just cut me off. And so that was it. Like, they wanted nothing to do with me, and we didn't talk for 2 years.
Damn. I'm sorry for that.
I saw them when we were in the hospital room saying goodbye. I hadn't seen them in 2 years or spoken to them in 2 years.
Have you talked to them since?
Yeah, we reconciled.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, so things with my sisters are fine. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Family and death, and oh man, that's a whole podcast series on its own. And
yeah,
I've seen close families, siblings and parents and things like just crumble after someone passes away, and it turns into like a feeding frenzy of resentment and wills and money, and it's just yeah.
Well, my dad,
complex, man.
He didn't have any money, nothing. So when we were at the
so that part's easy.
at the funeral home, they were like, okay, you need to close down all of his accounts, any kind of investment accounts, bank accounts. We just kind of sat there. We're like, he has no accounts, none.
He was a lawyer.
Yeah, he just spent it all.
Oh, I see.
He had a spending problem, and that's what I've inherited. That's one thing I can't. I have a spending problem too. I'm
speaking of which, I have a merch store if you're interested.
Oh yeah, good. That's what I'm doing is buying more clothing.
I'm such a bastard.
I just go on Amazon. It's like boom, 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 and so I created a product. And we're going to be fundraising for it. Hopefully in the next 6 months. But it's a Chrome and a Safari extension, and it's called Twella, and it's a mindful approach to help stop compulsive spending online.
Huh. And you sell that online?
No, it's free.
Is that okay? I'm sorry. I'm such a smartass today.
No.
Oh my God. People are going to listen to be like, what the fuck is this guy's problem?
No. It's fine. That's how my whole life lived with my family. Like the sarcasm, super dark humor, really dark humor, all the things. Like, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. If someone were to be at like our house, or if me and my sister's hanging out and like listen to us, they think we're like all of us were just really, really fucked up, which we are. We are. Yeah. But,
it's the Saskatchewan in you.
Yeah, it is. Well, the Saskatchewan in me actually keeps me is the nice part of me. All Canadians are so nice.
Oh, I know a few that aren't. Hitler was Canadian,
No, I did not know that.
I made that up.
Okay, I was like, what? How is that possible?
Oh my God, I'm on a roll here.
I'm like, I'm a history major. I'm like, wait, what?
I thought he was Austrian.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, Hitler's not Canadian, but there are bad Canadians.
I'm sure.
I just don't know any.
Exactly.
No. Okay, so how did you get into? I can't remember. So you work for NAMI. You work for all these different organizations.
Yeah.
Was that some of them kind of more recent than others?
NAMI, I started working with NAMI in California in 2018. Okay. Gotcha. So I just transferred over when I got to Nevada, I got on the board of our center, which is the LGBTQA organization. And I realized they didn't have any mental health resources.
It's that time again for that Somebody Special segment where we chat about who cooperated in your mental health journey and helped fill your emotional tank. Brought to you by Co-op. This is a segment where you get to give a shout out to someone that's been in your corner when you've needed it.
Today I'm showing a tribute to someone truly special in my journey, my late dog Rufus. More than just a pet, Rufus was my steadfast companion during the hardest times of my life, including battling severe depression and experiencing homelessness. His loyalty and silent support were my constant, helping refill my emotional tank when I felt most alone. Rufus taught me the power of resilience, the depth of unconditional love, and the importance of companionship and healing. So here's to Rufus, a shining example that somebody special, his love significantly impacted my mental health journey, and for that I am eternally thankful. A big thank you to the Co-op for allowing me to share this, and to Rufus for being my unwavering support.
This has been another Somebody Special brought to you by Co-op.
So I connected with NAMI here in Northern Nevada. I said, look, I'm on the board for this organization. We need mental health resources. Let's collaborate. And so the collaboration started, and then they asked me to be on the board of NAMI, Northern Nevada. And so that happened. And then, in fact, we went to a gala tonight for NAMI in Reno. But yeah, so that's how that happened. SPRC.
That one, yeah.
This woman, her name's Susie Reese, and she's the director of lived experiences at SPRC, slid into my DMs and said, hey, I have this opportunity, where I didn't know who SPRC was or who they were. They're the Suicide Prevention Resource Center, and they're a huge federally funded nonprofit organization that just puts out resources for suicide prevention, period. In the very beginning, it was all clinical. Now they have this amazing executive director named Shelby Rowe, and they have what's called the Lived Experience Advisory Committee. And so they have about 23 of us that they found all over the place, all over the nation, with lived experience of suicide, whether a loss or attempt, and from all different types of walks of life and different professions. But what they have us do is, take a look at all their stuff, and we have input on everything that they put out, basically, from a lived experience point of view, so that it's accurate. Like, for instance, I worked on the 988 Informative Research Project. So they had a bunch of us lived experience take a look at their research data and their messaging and say, hey, from a lived experience point of view, can you give us your input? So they're asking for a lot of that now, which is fantastic. And there's nothing right now that exists that Shelby Rowe hasn't put together. She put together this first thing in the nation, which is the Lived Experience Advisory Committee for SPRC. And now other organizations are starting to put together like lived experience groups. So it's becoming, really a great thing, great resource for anybody really in the nation. As far as
so you're like consultants in a way, then.
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Lived experience consultants, yeah.
Right, yeah. I kind of was kicking around that idea that I'm assuming. So I'm not well educated. I mean,
doesn't matter.
Formal education, I'll say. So I don't know if this is an actual position that already exists or a title, but I think big companies that are experiencing a lot of like burnout and turnaround and staff and stuff. I was like, I wonder if you could become like a mental health consultant for companies and like go in there and interview the staff and then like give your recommendations to the company and be like, here, this is, if you want a happy, turnaround staff all the time, here's some things that are recommended.
Funny that you mentioned that, because I spoke at a behavioral health summit here in Washoe County, which is the county that Reno's in. And I was approached by the public defender's office of Washoe County. And she asked me, she asked me to coffee. She asked me if I'd give a presentation on resilience and mental health and, LGBTQIA DEI. And the reason being is because she said there's so much burnout in the public defender's office, and they get bullied all the time. There's so much hate, and negativity, and just between the lawyers and the judges and the clients that, there's just such a low esteem. And so she asked if I'd come in and teach some resiliency tools, and also, talk about mental health and what you can do to help your own self with mental health and empower yourself. And then also, talk about trans and LGBTQIA stuff so that they can address and deal with their clients more, appropriately. So I'm doing that, I guess.
Huh. Are you going to charge by the hour?
Yes.
Good.
I do charge by the hour.
It's not a contract.
That's what I'm doing now. I started a company last year called Resilient Consultancy. And what I do is I go and I consult for organizations like SPRC, like NAMI, and I do presentations or I work with their press or media, whatever it is that they need help with, to further the cause. And they pay me by the hour. So yeah, I'm a consultant basically. Not basically, I am.
Well, you should expand into Canada and hire me.
Okay. I mean, sure. I can just Venmo you then. I don't have to worry about all the federal laws that way.
Perfect. I don't even know what Venmo is. Oh, that's the American Cash App thing.
You guys don't have that? What do you use there?
Well, we have e-transfers, which is super easy.
I don't know about that. You have PayPal?
We do have PayPal as well.
Okay,
yeah. But yeah, let's do that.
Whatever.
Huh.
So yeah, that's
an actual thing.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up.
No, you hit it right on the head. Literally.
Huh. Well, I'll have to look into that further. Like, I don't have enough crap on my plate. I'm going to be a consultant too.
Yeah, why not? I mean, or be a life coach, because everybody these days are a life coach, so one of the two.
There's a lot of life coaches. What are your thoughts on life coaching?
Just like everything else, you just got to be careful, like with who you entrust yourself and your money with. Same thing with therapists, same thing with anybody. You got to understand where they're coming from and to know their background. And, I think some people just blindly will follow somebody because they're, whatever they had a certain look, or I don't know, but I know there's a lot of fraud and there's, a lot of, scams with some life coaching out there, but some of it is actually very beneficial. You just got to really do research.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I've met some people that are just amazing people that have been on the podcast that are life coaches, but at the same time, it's like when I see life coach title somewhere, it's like sometimes I roll my eyes and It's like, no, okay. It's like, it's legit, but
yes,
there's also a lot of non-legit.
Yes, well, I was consulting for a life coaching company as well, just recently. It's called YouBloom, and Nazanin Mandy is the life coach, and I was actually her personal trainer years ago, and she is a model, and so she posts half naked pictures on the internet all the time, and I told her, I said, hey, what are you gonna do when you get old and you can't post half naked pictures of yourself on the internet anymore and to get followers? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, you post all this inspirational, motivational stuff. You've been through all these things. Like, have you thought about being a life coach? And she's like, no. I said, just look into it. And then she looked into it. She got certified, and then COVID happened, and then nothing happened. And a couple of years later, she decided to go for it. She hired me to come on to start it up. But yeah, she's a life coach now.
You seem to be a real grind person. Like, you just.
Oh yeah, I hustle till I die, basically. Like, because you know why? It keeps me out of my head. If I can't watch TV. I can't sit down and do nothing, because the minute I do nothing, I have to deal with what's going on between my ears. Like all the death and all the crazy stuff that's happened to me over the years, I compartmentalize it really well. I just put it into a little cabinet right behind my head and close the door, which is not healthy. But
no,
if I did it,
and then you run,
I would not be functioning.
But have you always been like that?
Yeah.
Because I've talked to a few people that are in recovery of addictions, and they have similar kind of personalities, and it's like they just love to hustle and grind. It's like, and they've reinvented themselves like 3-4 times with different businesses and stuff. And
I've lived like 10 different lives, like literally. It's just, I think it's exhausting having to go. I'm very, very regimented, and which helps me in my mental health. Like, for instance, I get up at 3:00 in the morning, and then I go for a run. So this morning,
when I go to bed.
I go to bed at like 7:38.
Huh?
Yeah.
Isn't it bright out?
No, I mean, when the time changes, that depends a little, eye mask on. But so like this morning, it's 24 degrees out. It had just snowed the day before. I went out this morning at 4 in the morning and did a run for 6 miles, and then came in. And I had my breakfast, really healthy breakfast. Make sure I'm hydrated, take a shower, and then start working. Probably around like 6 or 7, and then I will go to the gym late, and eat early evening, 3 o'clock. I like to say I work on East Coast time, so I'll go to the gym, and then I'll come back, maybe do a little bit more work, and then go to bed.
Dang. I mean, I've reinvented myself quite a few times too, mostly because it starts to get hard. So then I'll quit a job and do a different job.
Yeah,
so it's I don't grind. Like I can reinvent myself really quick, but when it starts to get hard, that's the grinding stops, and it's like how on to my next thing.
I mean,
so
there's
I'm trying to break that pattern. Actually, sorry.
No. Like that. We're twins, but they're not. Now we're like the now we're like yin and yang.
Yeah, but I'm trying to break that pattern with the podcast because right now, I'm not going to lie, it's hard. Financially, it is fucking hard, and it's taking a toll on me and my family a little bit, but also it's expanded like multiple times in the last few months, my listenership and stuff. So it's like, okay, don't just jam out. This is get through the awkward part, the awkward growth phase, and it'll things.
Well, I'm in the same boat you are financially because I just started this consulting company a year ago. So I'm constantly like right now, all my contracts ended in December, and all my savings are blown off of just my spending issues. So I basically have 3 months of savings, and that's it. If I don't get money coming in, in the next couple months here, then I am going to be homeless again. So I understand your
as he laughs.
I can't afford the lifestyle anymore, And I ended up actually, I don't know if you've heard of Debtors Anonymous, DA.
Debtors?
Yeah. It's a program I enrolled in because of my debting issues. It's Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's for debting. For compulsive debting.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I'm currently, I have a sponsor working on my impulsivity spending, because the spending part, that's my drug of choice today.
Right.
Right. It's like whack-a-mole. It's like, okay, you put the drugs down, you put the eating disorder down, mental health is okay. Well, what's next? Well, we got to have something wrong with you, right? So that's the debting.
It's funny because I think a lot of people have like gym issues, going to the gym and like being a gym rat and stuff. And it's like, what are they actually, that's kind of a addiction as well. But I mean, there's healthy and unhealthy addictions, I guess, right?
Yeah. Like mine was my eating disorder, binge, exercise, bulimia. I couldn't purge. I just wasn't able to purge. So I would binge and then work out the next day for 6 to 7 hours. And then I would restrict my diet to about 500 calories for a week, and then work out still 6 to 7 hours a day. And, that was my life. It was just like constant workout, think about food all the time, and think about working out all the time. And there's no room for anything else. I was doing massive amounts of drugs at the time too. Pills mainly to keep me going. And then also pills to calm me down at night, the benzos. A lot of opiates in there. So yeah, the exercise bulimia, you see the people at the gym for 6 hours at a time. They definitely have something going on.
You can just set up a counseling session in the corner.
Yeah.
A little table and a chair.
I've been through it all. Come on over. I guess I could qualify as a life coach, but I'm just not interested in listening to people whine.
Oh, now you tell me. Shit.
Like,
sorry.
I would be the worst therapist. I'd be like, put your big girl panties on and fucking get up and do some shit, and it's funny because I'm in the mental health space and the suicide prevention. It's very sensitive, everything's so sensitive. But really it's all about resilience, honestly. Like, you have to be able to empower yourself, and you have to be able to get out of bed. You have to be able to put your feet on the floor at some point. To get things moving. I know how hard it is. I've have debilitating depression, but if you don't help yourself, at least at some, calling somebody, getting some help, you're never going to get better, ever.
Mm-hmm.
So the power of getting better lies in their individual's hands. Unfortunately, that person needs to ask for help. And that's the hardest thing to do, the hardest. But that's what needs to happen in order for that individual to get better. It's kind of hitting bottom, right? Like when alcoholic, like I give up. I give up. Like, this disease has got me. I need help. What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I tell people that when because I do public speaking as well. And that's something I always try to end on is there's no therapist, no doctor, no pill will cure you.
No.
They'll be a nice support and a bit of a crutch when you need, but you got to do the work. No, they won't do the work for you. And because for years I was taking medication and seeing therapists, not doing any of the goddamn work,
right?
Still drinking and doing drugs and all the other crap I was doing, and then getting pissed off at them. I'm like, whoa, why isn't this working? Why isn't it going to cure me?
Exactly. The way I do public speaking too, I give this analogy. So you're walking through the forest and you need to get, all of a sudden you see there's a huge lake and you got to get to the other side. There's no way you can get to the other side. So you pray to God, right? Because people are like, well, Jesus is going to save me, right? That's what a lot of people are, why? I'm like, great. Yeah, Jesus and medication can work hand in hand. So if that's your thing, but then you say, God, please help me. Please help me get across this thing. I'm starving. I'm hungry. I need to get, all of a sudden a canoe drops out of the sky and lands in front of you with these oars. And so God delivered the canoe. Now you got to get into the little boat and row.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I explain it. And the boat and rowing could either be, maybe trying out medication, getting sober, getting up out of bed for a minute and just walking around the house for 5 minutes. Anything to change the situation that you're currently in that's causing all the distress and depression. You gotta try something. You gotta do something. Or like suicide does seem like the only option. I get it. I've tried it twice.
Yeah. And it's dealing with the stuff you don't want to deal with is the hardest part.
Absolutely.
And that's where the work for me came in, was like the stuff I don't want to talk about. That's the stuff I got to talk about and stop avoiding it. And because healing, it hurts. You break your leg. The moment you break your leg, it hurt, but it hurts for months after. And that's the healing part. That's
true.
It's unfortunate because that's the nature of the beast, is depression and addiction wants to keep you down.
Totally. It wants to kill you.
Yeah. Your
brain wants to kill you.
It sounds simple, but it's really, really hard.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Torri, for reaching out and for coming on the podcast and for doing all the advocacy work you're doing. And I'm glad that your life is on the right track. If you want to follow Torri on Instagram, his handle is TorriShack, TorriShack, and that will also be in the show notes. Thank you so much to Co-op and for Sticks and Doodles for sponsoring this episode. It's organizations like yours that are keeping this podcast going. And thank you to everyone that has been buying me coffees, sending me messages, buying merch. All of that is extremely, extremely appreciated and important to keep the podcast going. So thank you so much. Until next time, this is me, Todd Runnebaum, saying, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.